This is MTG Burgeoning, and in this video we are going to update and upgrade our Giada Font of Hope Angel Tribal EDH deck. Thank you for joining us for another installment of the Up and Up series. Today we are going to update and upgrade Giada Font of Hope. In the description of this video you can find a deck tech for Giada, the most up-to-date deck list for Giada, as well as the video primer series. All three of those links can be found in the description below. We've got some cards going in, that means some cards are coming out. So we're going to start this video with our first addition to our Angel Tribal deck. It is Archangel of Thune. A copy finally became available, and once that happened, it was a slam dunk inclusion into this Giada deck. Here we have a 3/4 flying angel with lifelink for 3 and 2 white mana, and whenever we gain life, we put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control. We do have a life gain sub-theme woven into this Angel Tribal build, of which Archangel of Thune will fit splendidly. So Giada will welcome with arms and wings wide open the Archangel of Thune. With this oh-so-powerful angel coming in, we had to go through our angel list and pick out one of the weaker inclusions. So, for where we sit right now, Archangel of Thune is going in and is going to replace the Wind Shaper Planetar. Now here we have an angel that's 4/4 with flying and flash for 4 and 1 white mana. And when the Wind Shaper Planetar came into play, if it did so during the declare attacker's step, for each attacking creature, we may reselect which player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. This is a one and done effect that we can only cast in some of the most, let's say, niche situations of a game, particularly when any of our opponents' creatures are attacking us, and again, just once per game. For just once per, the card coming into play. So for the exact same mana value of 5, we're replacing a one and done effect for an effect with Archangel of Thune that's going to help out the entire team of angels on our side of the battlefield, in addition to a couple of peripheral creatures that are created through tokens and other things, as you can see if you look through the deck list of this Giada build. So replacing Wind Shaper Planetar with Archangel of Thune does not seem to be a loss of power in any stretch of the imagination. More than anything else, we are gaining an additional power level with Archangel of Thune. All right, our second addition going into the Giada deck today, that is going to be the Book of Exalted Deeds. Here we have a legendary artifact for 3 white mana. At the beginning of our end step, if we gained 3 or more life this turn, we create a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying. Again, harking back to the life gain sub-theme that's woven into this Giada build. We can also pay 3 white mana, tap and exile the book to put an enlightened counter on target angel. It gains, you can't lose the game, and your opponents cannot win the game. This is an ability that we can only activate as a sorcery. This allows us to further maybe delay the game if we need to have a few extra turns to end up knocking our opponents out of the game through combat damage, or potentially through lethal commander damage. If we have an angel that's sneaky enough to avoid removal, more on that to come in this video, then the Book of Exalted Deeds fits the scope of this build very, very well, stays on theme with the creation of angel creature tokens, and, like I said, helps to stretch out the game if needed so that we can get our get our chorus of angels onto our side of the battlefield, leading us to victory. With the Book of Exalted Deeds going in, it is going to replace Eerie Interlude. Now here we have an instant for 2 and a white mana that allows us to exile any number of target creatures we control. We return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. This does provide some versatility to board wipes, or if we have any creatures that are being targeted for removal or theft by our opponents, we could cast Eerie Interlude and exile those creatures, protecting them for that turn. However, what we're looking to do here with this swap is to be a little more proactive as opposed to being a little more reactive. We do have other protection spells in the 99 of this build. What we don't have are additional ways to get angel creature tokens onto the battlefield. So, as long as we're gaining the life, which you know we're going to do because of the aforementioned life gain sub-theme woven into this build, the book is going to help our battlefield much more than the one shot of Eerie Interlude does right now. So what we've done so far is we've taken 2 cards that we can get multiple uses out of, respective to our angel build and on theme with the angel tokens and the life gain sub-theme, and we're replacing 2 cards that have one of abilities that are a little more reactive than they are proactive. Keep that in mind. We're trying to make this deck a little more aggressive. We are playing mono white and we are in an angel tribal build, so we do want to make sure that we can put the pedal to the metal. We're not looking to dance around too long and trying to win the game here. The best that we can do is get angels onto the battlefield, get them big, and swing at our opponents. And the first 2 cards that we've included here are going to do that a lot more than the 2 cards that are replacing them. The 2 cards that are being replaced. All right, next card going in. It is Everybody Lives. We're going back to a little bit of the protective feature of our angels. And actually, I do think that this might have been a slight out of error because Everybody Lives most likely was supposed to go into supplant Eerie Interlude. So I must have had a little mix up in the cards here. Well, everything that we said about the previous swap is still true. It just would have made better sense to put Everybody Lives in for the spot of Eerie Interlude. But that's okay, we're going to keep going with it. Here we have an instant for 1 and a white mana, where all creatures gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Players gain hexproof until end of turn. Players can't lose life this turn, and players can't lose the game or win the game this turn. This is one of our bailout cards. This is something similar to Angel's Grace, the split-second spell that allows us to stay in the game and prevents our opponents from winning the game. This is just another version of that, except it's going to extend its abilities to protect our creatures as well. This will be very, very important if we're coming down to the end of the game and we need that one last turn to strike gold in the win column. We can cast that Everybody Lives and make sure that we get to that very last turn. So, as I mentioned, Everybody Lives was most likely going in to replace Eerie Interlude at a mana savings of 1 overall mana, from a mana value of 3 with Eerie Interlude to 2 with Everybody Lives. But as the cards show here, it's going to go in to replace Linvala the Preserver. So now I do remember Linvala the Preserver is an angel 5/5 flying for 4 and 2 white mana. When it comes into play, if an opponent has more life than we do, we gain 5 life. And when she comes into play, if an opponent controls more creatures than we do, we create a 3/3 white angel creature token with flying. And we create that and put it onto the battlefield. So the book was supposed to go in to replace Linvala, because the book should be able to create us multiple angel creature tokens throughout a game, where the hit or miss Linvala will come in and maybe create a 3/3 angel if it meets the criteria to do so, with an opponent having more creatures than we do, and it's just a one-and-done ability once it hits the battlefield. With the book, we're going to get those creature tokens every single turn as long as we're gaining at least 3 life, where with Linvala, we're just going to do that the one time she comes into play. So if you think about it, all 3 swaps going in for the cards they're replacing are definitely helping with the overall effectiveness and power level of this Giada build. All right, the last 2 changes going in are going to harken back to the Book of Exalted Deeds. If you remember, we put a counter on a angel. Let's pull it out, actually, so that we can make sure that we are word for word reciting what the card says. The book says that we can exile it to put an enlightened counter on target angel, and it gains you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. With that in mind, in an angel tribal build, we are not without a large selection of angels that we could choose to put that enlightened counter on. While it's not hard or difficult to remove creatures from the battlefield, it's a little more difficult in EDH, not too much so, to remove lands from the battlefield. So, going in to help diversify the land base in order to make the Book of Exalted Deeds even more powerful are Mutavault and Faceless Haven. Mutavault taps for a colorless, and so does Faceless Haven. We can pay 1 mana to have Mutavault become a 2/2 creature with all creature types until end of turn, and it's still a land. If it has all creature types, that means it's an angel, and that also means that the Book of Exalted Deeds could be targeting the Mutavault while it's a creature to put its Enlightened counter onto it. And the same thing can be said for Faceless Haven. For 3 snow mana, it becomes a 4/3 creature with vigilance and all creature types until end of turn, and it's still a land. The majority of our land base here is built on snow-covered plains, so being able to pay Faceless Haven's activated ability should not be difficult with so many snow-covered plains in the deck. And just like Mutavault, we could have the creature that is all creature types. That means it's an angel. We can have the Faceless Haven be targeted by the book, put the Enlightened counter onto it, and then, after the turn is over, it's no longer a creature, but the Enlightened counters remains on Faceless Haven, meaning that we can't lose the game and our opponents can't win the game as long as one of these 2 lands is still under our control with the Enlightened counter on it. It is not impossible in EDH to remove these lands, but it's a lot easier to remove a creature from the battlefield than it is a land. With those 2 shape-shifting... Oh, Giada, don't fall on us now! Come on, girl. There we go. With those 2 shape-shifting... Or not shape-shifting. With those 2 changeling lands going into the land base, we're going to pull out 2 snow-covered plains just to make sure that we don't lose the amount of mana that we could tap for, because as you know as well as I do, those angels can be pricey. All right, there you have it, MTG BC Up and Up series with Giada, Font of Hope. Let me know your thoughts about these changes in the comment section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic.